Morning, morning, monsters. Today we're going to talk a bit of history. So, my family past is interesting in some ways and very dull in many others. I won't talk about too much personal stuff here. However, last time I went up and I visited my mum, she told me about my great granddad. And I had heard stories about my great granddad before, but one of the things I had never heard was apparently he was a journalist at Fleet Street. And we were talking about it and his famous articles and and her memories of Grandpa George and all that. And, I was told, okay, so Grandpa George was in Bradford working as a journalist. He had been evacuated. Had he been evacuated? No. Yes, my grandfather had been evacuated. He hadn't been evacuated. But anyway, George Blackshaw was apparently a Fleet Street journalist. And apparently, he wrote quite a famous article in Bradford and then moved down to London. And yeah, worked on Fleet Street. I'm super excited. I love words. And I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, but if I can find some articles he's written, words are such a revealing thing. So I say to my mum, don't worry, mum, I'm going to go dig out articles because the British Library's microfiche and all that and the newspaper archive is really good. And I was convinced once I found one or two articles of his byline, figured out what paper he was writing at, I could get this body of work. And I genuinely was really excited for this project. And I had been putting it off because I've been very busy. And then finally this morning I was like, I should start digging away at that project. I start searching. First of all, George Blackshaw, super common name. Look in Bradford, nothing under Bradford. Okay, fine. Right, nothing under Bradford. Let's check London, because apparently he worked Fleet Street. Oh, there's a bunch of results here, but not as many. Okay, let's start digging through those. Immediately, it's like, wait, is this the right person? And that's when the juicy bits start going. Turns out, the byline I found wasn't about it. It wasn't written by him, but was about him. So the first story I found was this gorgeous... First of all, can we take a moment to appreciate old-timey woodcuts? I mean, how cool looking is that? So this is an article, this is a newspaper called the Illustrated Police News from October 13th, 1932. Right, so this is between the two wars. And anyway, so this is from London. Check forgery case. Man sent for trial. Alleged mean fraud on Lady Anson by man she assisted. Now, some background before we dig into it and before my cat goes completely bonkers. Are you okay, Vertex? It's okay. We're a family of crooks. So, who's Lady Anson? Well, some Googling has shown up. This is Princess Anne of Denmark. Okay, she was later the official party planner for the Queen. This is the kind of person we're talking about. So, proper high society. George Blackshaw, 36, who described himself as a journalist of Green Lane, Chadwell Heath, was before Mr. Hopkin Morris at Westminster Police Court on remanded charges of forging and uttering a cheque and obtaining £14, 17 shillings and 6 dimes with the intent to defraud Lady Clodagh de Per Anson of Sloane Court. Actually, no, I don't think this is the right person. Southwest. Okay, so, yes, boy, we get it. Initially, I was like, is this the right person? But when he describes himself as a journalist, the odds stack up, right? This is probably the right guy. 6 pence. Now, I don't know if we can do a currency conversion here. So sad. So sad. Inflation from British pound. Okay. I'm wondering if we can work out. So this would have been £16. Wait, was it £16? No, £14. This is £14 in 1932. So just shy of £1,000. Just shy of £1,000. So this is small money. This is like, this is not big amounts. Sorry, my brain's lost the chat there. Yes, nearly 50. Mr. Lawson Walton, for the Director of Public Prosecution, says it was alleged that the prisoner had committed a very mean fraud on Lady Anson, who had done everything in her power to assist him. She had devoted a good deal of her time to assisting the down and outs, and soon after making the acquaintance of the prisoner in June last year and finding that he could operate a typewriter and was a man of some education, gave him secretarial work at a weekly salary. Lady Anson said that her principal interest in life was her charitable organisation for the down and outs. In April last, Mrs. Henderson lent her the Windmill Theatre for a charitable performance. A number of prominent theatrical artists assisted her, and prisoner, under her supervision, had charge of arrangements. She spoke to him about the entertainment tax and told her that she would have to pay it, but the money would be refunded within 21 days. She wrote out a cheque for £14, 17 shillings and 6 pence on June 4th and signed it. The prisoner said it had to be excisable, had to be made payable to HM Customs and Excise, and to her annoyance, she afterwards saw that he had filled in those words in the cheque. Oh my word, it's so good. It's so good. She now saw the crossed out the prisoner's own name had been substituted. She never authorized him to do this. She paid him £3 a week for the work he did, and he was paid regularly up until June 17th. So it sounds like more petty fraud than anything. Prisoner reserved his defence and pleaded not guilty. The magistrate committed the prisoner for trial at Central Criminal Court. I have not been able to find a ruling for this particular case. However, it is not the only case of which we have. Here's another one where I'm currently living in Lambeth, right near Elephant and Castle. It's my district, and it's a Labour stronghold. Turns out it's been a Labour stronghold for a very long time. So in this story, I shan't read this one out because it hasn't got as wonderful a flow of language. But in this story, he basically goes up to... where does he go up to? He went up to Railway Cottage, Oxted. And he posed as a Labour door knocker, someone collecting funds for the party. And he obtained a gold watch valued at £20 on false pretenses from the Army and Navy stores, Victoria Street, Southwest. So he was basically pretending that he was there on behalf of Lady Fitzroy. I mean, this guy, he had a knack of pretending he was associated with royalty. You'll see it in a lot of these stories. He is constantly dubious whirling spray. Ladies, every lady should see the Hygiene whirling spray syringe. Best, safest, and most convenient price. Most free. It cleanses instantly. It's a douche. It's a douche. Where was the story on this one? This one was easy to parse. These things are not. Oh man, I don't remember where the story was on this one. Let me just dig. Give me a sec. Oh yes. was remanded, charged sterling ring. Okay, this was apparently a theft of a ring from a jeweler's. So he had also some legendary in his past. Legendary? Fast work with his fingers where he nicks shit. This story, that was the theft of the ring story again. Oh, here we go. I love this one. And we did look, Legerdemain. Yes, Legerdemain. We did look this one up as well. George Blackshaw, 30. So this is the same chap. This is what year? This is the West London Observer, Spring Fashions, 1927. Okay. George Blackshaw, 30, described as a journalist of Arthur Street, Bloomsbury, was charged on a warrant with endeavouring to obtain charitable contributions by fraud from Margaret Radcliffe Hall authorities of 37 Holland Street, Kensington. Detective Sergeant Wilkes, this sergeant comes up a few times in these stories, applying for a remand on evidence of arrest, says it was alleged the accused had been victimising a number of literary people connected with the book circle, and there would be charges against him. He was arrested on pressing charges. He said, "It is all wrong." The magistrate remanded him in custody for a week. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, this is I think the same. No, different. Just the same horrendous fashion being sold. Here we go. This one actually names names, so this is great. So he defrauded apparently Mrs. Shelley Frey, and she was famous for. We did look it up. Wikipedia. Shelley. I did just look this up. She was Shelia. God. Shelia Fry. Yeah, Shelia Kane-Smith. There we go. So apparently her famous work was The End of the House of Allard. Yeah. But looked her up, and so she is legitimately a posh person. I know Vertex is very upset this morning. He literally jumped on the bed this morning and screamed in my face to wake me up. And both Cat and Ducky were up, and they were around the house. He's been in a very high energy mood this morning. Yes, that novelist, Mr. George Burgeon, novelist of West Hill Highgate, accused the guilty. Stated the prisoner he obtained money by pretending he was down on his luck and wanted his fare to Manchester, where he said he had a job to go to. So apparently the train fare gag, I mean, to be fair, he has probably pulled this off a lot more times successfully than he got caught and then was reported on. But it sounds like the out of money for train fare gag was one of his faves, because that comes up quite a few times. But it also turns out that he quite often poses successfully as a man associated with posh people. Where was this one? This one was also tea and cigarette at the open air bath at Chiswick. I mean, right, where was this one? This one. So this is the Daily Herald from 1927. Where was this one? I had this one up. The Modern Girl in America. I love digging through these things. I was expecting to read all these articles that had been written by my great granddad, and instead I'm finding all these articles where it's like, novel smoking mixture. Oh god, okay. Here we go. This is the same story, I think, of the Lady Anson story. Detective Copley remanded in custody. I'm gonna have to go and dig out like court records and see if I can find the actual court records for his trial. Unfortunately, a lot of small court stuff at that time was entirely verbal. But there should be at least a record of whether he was actually charged and what his punishment was. There was somewhere he was remanded to hard labour. That comes right outside Bournemouth train station too. Demand for a better Britain. Where was this one? Wife who demands 20,000. Comedy of the kidnapped beauty. Protecting children in bedstead. Oh, I did dig this one out. £2 saved. Oh, where is it? Leave it to Bob, he'll fix it. Oh, I don't think I can find this one. It was on here. I'm looking for the fraud story. In this, rather than looking for George, I'm now looking for the fraud story. No, I can't find it. Okay, and then I think this is. Oh no, is this our last one? No, it's not our last one. Nah, it's not our last one. Second to last one. This one. King in Scotland. Postman burned, railman 53 years, fight to premiere, gem study cars, bungalow wins, world's largest liner. Oh, MP as witness. Oh, here he defrauds a member of Parliament, Mr. George Middleton MP. Basically, this is his train. This is his train fare gag. He pretends to be an agent, a coal agent. Like people used to have coal delivered to their house for heating, and they basically used to be these middlemen who would like sell contracts for like coal deliveries and such. Kind of like selling you cable, but instead of selling you cable, they were selling you coal. For Carlisle in the 1920s and 30s. Switch to Carlisle. Oh, okay. Nothing interesting about him except Great Granddad managed to defraud him of some train fare. Yeah, this one he was pretending to be 30 shillings he got out of the MP. But this one was also because the MP was giving evidence because he had previously been brought on charges against the MP. Described himself as an ad man, so he's no longer a journalist, he's now an ad man. Miss Stella Morrill said he was at home on Crawley when it called him and came invitation of Lady Constance Lytton, who had promised to introduce him to a literary man who would find him employment. Lady Constance, however, died the day he reached London, and he was without means to get back. It's the same fucking story I hear at Waterloo now. Just not Lady Constance. It's like I came down for a job interview and I can't. It's the same panhandling story. It's hilarious. I'm just. Oh, I'm so enthralled by the what the fuck carpet beating. Patent steam carpet beating. Prices reduced. Like, I love old-timey newspapers. I love digging through this stuff. It's just so rewarding. Like, I had something totally different planned for this morning, but my wife will tell you I have been cackling all morning. I don't know why I find it so appealing, but we find... Oh my God, small type. To awaken suggestions for meetings on early commons. Patient arrested on serious charge. Is George arrested as a patient? No. An armed runaway. No, it's not his style. The London sneeze. Cheaper fares. Movie theatre. Beauty doctor. Nah, can't find it. Though, this brings me to the point that I wanted to discuss today. Confidence level. So, that's where we're going to start. Right. First of all, I am tickled pink that this is the case. Now, you can never be 100% certain because the name George and the name Blackshaw are fairly common. In fact, if you extend the entire country's archives for the name George Blackshaw, you will find a lot of articles because it's a relatively common name. However, the fact that he has described himself as a journalist leads credence because that's what he kind of told his family. Now, this is the point I want to get to. If you were trying to find these newspaper articles even 10, 15 years ago, you would be very hard pressed because it's only quite recently that a lot of this stuff has been digitized and made searchable, and that the search is quite accessible. You would normally have had to limit it down to a particular period or a particular paper, and then you would have to go through microfilm and you'd have to dig quite hard. So I imagine even in his time with his family and stuff, he was able to pass off these lies, and doing research on someone or doing background checks on people is relatively difficult. But this is the 1920s, 1930s. As we move into more modern times with the level of data, and as searching gets better, and as this sort of data mining gets better, it does sort of highlight to you how the internet never forgets and how data never forgets. And I do wonder what this is going to do. Yeah, so there was a George Blackshaw who was a house furniture. I know that's not him. But yeah, no, it was it's very interesting to me, the begging listed industry. I've dug through these articles. It's very interesting for me how easy it is to find these. The other thing I didn't realize when I started the search, by the way, is I didn't realize that bylines were not common in old newspapers. Like most old newspapers, you don't actually know who writes the particular article that you're looking at. Most of them are just like the title of the article. Bylines were something you had to negotiate for and were a thing of quite strong prestige. So it is possible that he was writing newspaper articles and we can't find them because it's not on his name. But yeah, I find this fascinating because especially because this is we're at the stage of textual search at the moment, but we all know facial recognition is getting much better. We know that facial recognition now is not only good enough to find faces of your friends on Facebook from photos, and bad quality photos at that, but the models are getting good enough that they can search across age ranges, so you can find younger pictures of a person or older pictures of a person. That's becoming quite common technology. And yeah, you're just finding a lot of OCR getting better and digging into various bits. And so I do wonder how many family histories are going to be turned up when, the grandkids or the great grandkids, in my case, look up a family story and find, well, it's not what you guys said, or, so back in the day, if you go far back enough, the amount of money that people made basically doing slavery, doing sweatshops, doing piracy, basically the amount of rich families today that got their start as crooks, and they basically did charitable donations and did charitable works to very quickly wash their name. If you actually look at the families who, especially in America, donated huge amounts of money and have massive museums and stuff associated with him, you dig into that and you realize, oh shit, this family did some really dark shit, and this is them trying to erase their legacy. and sort of wash up their legacy. And I don't think that's possible anymore. I don't think you can properly escape that anymore. There's just too much information. And I find that a really interesting shift in how we perceive this all. And it's not even like the big stuff. I mean, George's crimes are all minor. Even the check defrauding of Lady Anson, yes, she was a notable figure, but it's not a huge amount, as we've discovered. It's just less than £1,000 roughly in today's money, which is not small, but it's petty crime. But we're able to find a reporting about it. So yeah, no, that's all I really wanted to expose. There was something totally different I wanted to talk about, which I will talk about tomorrow. But for those of you on YouTube, we normally talk technology. We normally talk all things game, and we review books and all kinds of fun chatter, whatever's on the Claire brain, but usually with a point and usually with a thing. But my point here is the history is becoming more searchable. Like, there are old archives there that are sitting there and waiting to be searched. And as searching technology gets better, the sort of pillars of the past might shake a little bit. And in a small way, our little family's pillar got shaken today when my great granddad, is not a Fleet Street journalist, but he was a con man and a crook. Thank you so much. So come join us on Twitch. We talk about it live. Here we have a sort of post chat. Otherwise, ta-ta for now, YouTube. Ta-ta.